We're live from Bigtincan's RKO 25, and we are live here with Kathleen Hill from Natus.
Hi.
Hello. Can you tell us just a little bit about your role in your company?
So I'm the Director of Global Sales Training. I'm also responsible for our annual sales meeting, which is a global meeting. And then I am also responsible for any launches that occur and all of the training that occurs along with onboarding.
Perfect. So what challenges were you facing at Natus that led you to search for Bigtincan?
Oh, definitely. So our biggest challenge was that we needed something to be able to get all of our sales team trained, up and running, and very quickly. So typically I would say onboarding and training takes anywhere between a year, sometimes 2 years. And now with the Cube and Brainshark, it takes us really much closer to 6 months to a year.
Nice. So how did it look trying to solve these problems before Bigtincan? Was it just a big struggle before, or?
Absolutely. So really the challenge came out of kind of two problems. First of all, we went from a US team that was distribution partners, and then we were going to a direct sales team. So we had to hire a whole new direct sales team. So often we were hiring people who were in the pharma space, the respiratory space, cardiac, any number of things. And we had to start from 0 to 100 of what are ears, what is hearing, and move on from there. Yeah. Same thing now as we move on into our neuro space. It's the same concept as we hire new people. So it's all about trying to get everyone up and running as quickly as possible.
All on the same page.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so when you were looking for a solution, was there anything in particular that Bigtincan stood out to you and your team?
It's hard to remember because it was 10 years ago.
Long-running customer.
I know. Very long-running customer. I would say more than anything, just it being a repository of where to put everything. And at the time, again, being more than 10 years ago, the concept of being able to have everything locked down. So usernames, passwords, those sorts of things. Again, this wasn't a huge thing at the time.
Right. It's all kind of new technology, and people are kind of getting on board with it, literally.
Absolutely, yeah.
So did you notice any immediate impact when you first got into Bigtincan? Was there any, specific ROI or stat or metric? So
the biggest thing that we looked at was how quickly we could get someone onboarded and completely independent.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we saw right away that was a huge asset was, again, typically, and you had asked me, what did it look like prior to us having it? And prior to us having it, it was really, you brought someone into the office, you threw everything at them in about 3 days, and then said, here you go, and good luck. And now with having these resources, we know that in-person training actually, people will only retain anywhere between 15-20%, maybe a little more if you're lucky. So this is a way that we know that we have a resource, and our sales reps know that they have a resource of they don't have to remember every single little thing.
Right.
I also tell them whenever I do onboarding, because it is a lot of information kind of all at once, and we do it in a phase step approach. But even with the phases, it's a lot of content. And so I tell them, you're going to watch all of this, but you might remember maybe this much. The expectation is not that you're going to remember everything.
Right.
The expectation is that you remember where your resources are, so that before you go to that demo tomorrow or that cold call the next day, you can at least be up on what's going on with the product, what are the best things to show any individual customer persona.
What does Bigtincan do just in a typical day-to-day basis?
Absolutely.
How do you use it?
That is truly their day-to-day. That is their bread and butter of using that content portal every single day. Yeah. So they send out brochures or information, user manuals, really anything to any of their customers. So anywhere along the sales process, from cold calling, prospecting, all the way to demo, even negotiate and close, but then even after the sale. So we talk a lot about, you don't just drop things off for a customer. There's the whole post-sale piece and information. So we talk about sort of the acquired phase where they need to send them quick guides or user manuals or making sure they have new things. Also, if we have any e-seminars coming up or any medical education information coming up, we can send out information this way. And it's so great because then we can see the metrics, we can see the opening rate, we can see who's opening it, when they're opening it, who it's getting passed on to. It's really a great tool.
Could you kind of explain why something maybe as simple as being able to name it the Cube or just have it specific to your brand, how that can have an impact?
Absolutely. So I think what's important to know is oftentimes when we look at learning management systems or even just general systems we use every day, people often put a brand name with either a positive connotation or maybe sometimes a negative connotation.
Yeah, for sure.
And that certainly wasn't the case for Bigtincan. However, we also really wanted to talk about how important this was. And so by branding it not only to match our brand and be a part of it, we were able to discuss, well, why did we call it the Cube? Well, it's multidimensional. So we talk about learning being, well, there's in-person learning, there's online learning, there's hands-on learning, there's all different types of learning. And so the Cube really sort of encapsulates all of those different pieces and the different sides of the puzzle. Then it also shows that we really find this tool to be one of the most important tools in everything that we do because this is where they're going to get the majority, if not all, of their training, all of the videos, and again, a resource. So by branding it, we're showing them that our teams really feel that this is something that they need to know what it is and use it all the time. Same thing for the hub, because again, it's the hub for all things. So if you think it's like the hub with all the spokes going out, that's absolutely what it is. It's all the different pieces that can go out to different people, and it all comes from this source.
Yeah, I just feel like it's so nice too, because having the Bigtincan content and rebranding it to your own, it makes it feel like a home too for all of your employees. So
exactly,
that's really nice. Do you have any specific numbers or stats or just ROI benefits that you've seen since you've used it for 10 years? So it's been a long time. Do you have any specific things you can point to and benefits you got from Bigtincan?
Absolutely. So especially on the content side, we definitely look at statistics of people, how many follow-ups that they send out to customers, and then also how many media views that they do. And we chose that so that we could see how often is the sales rep just going in and looking at things. There's a lot of things in there that are locked down that you can't send out as follow-up because it's internal information, but at least we can see that they're looking at it. Then with follow-ups, we can see how many follow-ups are they actually sending their customers. And we do actually have KPIs and metrics of numbers that we want to look at, so many follow-ups per month, so many media views per month, and then we add it up quarterly. But we've seen anecdotally that the more higher performing sales reps often are in the hub every single day, whereas the, let's say, lesser performing or more junior sales reps, they aren't in it every day. And so that's one of the things that I stress to them is, look, this is a learning tool for you. Not only are you going to not only learn all of the different pieces of material we have, because we have well over 3,500 pieces of material in the hub, but also you can learn which ones do customers value the most. And that's something else that we look at. So from a marketing team perspective, we look at what are the pieces that are viewed the most, sent out the most, and then if there are pieces that maybe, I don't know, are only sent out once or twice or a handful of times in a year, how important is that?
In your speech, you mentioned how important video is in learning. And to the point of multitasking, I think video kind of for lack of a better word, kind of like tickles part of our brains that anything else can't. So could you kind of get into detail of why you think video works and why it works for your team?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, there's different kinds of video.
Right.
One of them is the true actual, I have a camera, I'm videotaping you. You're literally looking at a product or an installation or something. And I think that is the most similar to hands-on, one-on-one learning.
Yeah.
And it's the easiest way to emulate, okay, I'm watching this person do a thing and I'm going to do it with them. So it is the most tactile type of learning. Same thing as if I am videotaping a piece of computer software and you're showing, okay, then you click here, then this happens, then you enter in the patient data, then you start the test, that sort of thing. Yeah. You can have this up on one screen and on the other screen you're doing it with them. It is so important because then you're getting all three senses. So you're getting the visual, you're getting the auditory, and you're getting the tactile. You're doing all three at the same time, and that creates a better learning environment. One other thing that we have found that is added even another layer is by putting in captioning.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Even for English, even if it's an American speaker for English and it's an American audience, it's just one more way and one more sense of it all going together.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, again, in this multitasking world, we start to tune out and we stop listening. And I think with the written word, we can also, it's something for our eyes to do. Even though we're watching them do something else, it's something for our eyes to do, and we are actively a participant in it.
Yeah, I've seen that in video for, if you go on TikTok or YouTube nowadays, it's all text, captions, and not only that, but it's popping up at you.
Yeah.
It's moving fast. Yeah, it's just another thing to capture the attention for sure. So my final question is, you also mentioned that podcasting as a way of learning.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first time. I mean, I know there's podcasts for education, but to strategically use podcasts within like training,
Yeah.
I think is so smart. And yeah, you could do the video or you play the video in the background, but how much have you thought of strategically podcast specific for training, and why do you think that will work?
Yeah, so I'm just starting to experiment with it. This has sort of been a new idea that came around, and I think it's because podcasts have become so popular. Mm-hmm. But again, I think you have to decide what topics and what lends itself to it. So I think it's more about the sales side of things, meaning not how to use a product necessarily, but more how do I overcome objections, who are my different customer personas, sort of that. I feel like that lends itself more to just an auditory thing.
Yeah.
And that way, especially if, like, again, on something like objections or, questions, those sorts of things, is having a conversation back and forth. So instead of having one person say, oh, my objection is that's too expensive, and the answer is, well, actually, it sounds better when there's almost like a role-playing incident going on and you can remember it, and there's this back and forth because it's so much more natural. And I feel like podcasting really lends itself to that.
Yeah.
So it's totally something I'm playing around with right now.
Yeah, I think your uses of it are really smart, because those are kind of topics and uses where you could play multiple times. Because I know sometimes when I'm listening to podcasts, I'm in a car, or I'm running, or you can kind of replay it or stop and pause. Mm-hmm. It's not like a training video where you have to be fully
like you're there with the product and doing things.
Kind of these broader topics.
Mm-hmm.
That's really smart.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it very much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Bigtincan.